And there we go. I am online. Welcome, everyone. I will be hopefully everything will go well. I just need to... There we go. Everything is adjusted. And I have chat pulled up. There we go. Okay, I am going to start with I'm going to start with 2 poems that I've written. Chapter 1 and Endless Circles. And then I will move on to Stream Poetry, where I write poems with titles that followers suggest. Okay, let me set myself up. Okay, ready to go. Chapter 1. I keep dreaming of happy ever after, but I'm caught up in the aftermath. I want my fantasy, but I get lost in reality. Give me picture perfect, but is it worth it? I know all stories have endings, all tales come to a close, but can we just this once turn the pages back, return to chapter 1? I want a happy ever after, but those aren't real. I want a fantasy ending that keeps going when the book ends. I want my picture-perfect scene, but time makes it lose its gleam. I know all stories have endings, all tales come to a close, but can we just this once turn the pages back, return to chapter 1? I don't want the story to end, not unless it's perfect, but life doesn't work like that. I have to keep living it. All the stories that I read promised it would be worth it in the end. I believed them. I knew reality doesn't work like picture books. Reality doesn't work like fantasy. Reality doesn't care for you or me. Happy ever after is just a dream. I want a happy ever after, but I'm caught up in the aftermath. I want my fantasy, but I got lost in reality. Give me picture perfect, but is it worth it? I know all stories have endings, all tales come to a close, but can we just this once turn the pages back, return to chapter 1? So that is chapter 1. And next up is Endless Circles. There is a ghost in the corner of my room. She smiles at me, she's so full of joy. I want to cry, she's so small, so small. How could anyone be so cruel? She follows me with laughter in her voice, collects rocks from outside, places them in circling dioramas across my floor. She looks up at me, smiles nervously, and I know she's been judged before. Careful where you step, she's playing a game. It looks like a patterned artwork, but it isn't. I promise it's childhood at work. She looks at me and I can tell she wants my approval so bad. Who hurt you, I ask. But the truth is, I already know who did. There is a ghost in the corner of my room. She's so small. It hurts to look at her and the joy she bleeds into the air. She forgives, she understands, she wants to be understood so bad. She steals my notebooks and makes notations to keep herself from getting bored. Endless subtraction problems and multiplication, all just for fun. She looks up at me and waits for my approval. I want to cry, I want to scream and break down. You don't have to be approved of to be loved. It doesn't matter if they think you're weird for liking learning. It doesn't matter if the adults think you're strange. It doesn't matter if the kids don't understand your circles. You hold on to those things. But she doesn't believe me. She's been told this before. She's a ghost for a reason, and she's in my room for a reason. I look into her eyes, the same as mine. She's so, so small. How could anyone be so cruel? She makes patterns with her toys. Don't disrupt them, don't make noise. She draws in my notebook stories of stars and planets and how it all began in fanciful interpretations. She makes patterns in the grass, runs exactly in the same order and direction, over and over until the cycle is complete. She smiles at me, she smiles at me, there is a ghost living in my room. She's so painfully small, but I watch her sometimes, how she leaves no one behind. But her eyes, she already knows she's been left behind. She looks at me, begging for approval. I want to cry and scream, but she wouldn't understand. If I'd known what I know now, back when I was you, I'd have never changed, I'd have stayed the same, and I wouldn't have looked so hard for approval. So don't look to me, you have it. I didn't mean to kill you, I was you. I didn't know I was outgrowing you. There is a ghost in my room. She is so small. I bring her a pile of shells. Watch her eyes light up as she lines them up in endless circles. So that's Endless Circles. And now here is where I write all of my stream poetry. So if anyone wants to suggest a title, it would go down here and I would attempt to write a poem that matches that title. So like we have some silly ones like The Man Who Sat on the Toilet. We have some also more difficult ones like Dave. And then we have some more fun ones like Sharks Are Cool. Like, it's just meant to be, like, a challenge to, like, exercise some writing skills. Because it's difficult to... Like, it's important to practice writing things that are fun and also hard to do, hard to accomplish. Like, to take The Man Who Sat on the Toilet, I could have just made a silly little thing, but I wanted to make it more serious because that was the more difficult thing, so it was a interesting exercise to attempt. So I did The Man Who Sat on the Toilet held his head in his hands. It seemed only It seemed the only time the world paused was when the door locked and the stall closed and no one could come to ask him for assistance. He felt that he was running on everyone else's time, that his life was not his own, that he could not lock the door, could not turn off his phone, that work invaded every hour and someone always needed something, that the only time someone accepted that maybe he wasn't free was when the door locked and the stall closed and he could say, "Just a minute, I'm on the toilet, I can't answer the phone." And then Dave was a little more difficult because it was so vague. It was just difficult in general because of that. Names have power, don't give yours so freely. Anyone could snatch it right up. Something so simple, 4 letters, common, hard to protect, hard to defend. Names have power, my friend. You slipped up, gave it to me, and now it seems I see what you see. There are creatures such as me that lurk about, stealing names. You should have been more careful with yours, Dave. And then the last one that I've written on stream so far is Sharks Are Cool. Sharks are cool, fish that swim and bump into things, their teeth sharp and endlessly regrowing, slip beneath the waves and watch them turn, their eyes are dark and infinite inside. Sharks do not eat humans, not on purpose if they can, pet them gently and hold the small ones in your hands. Sharks are cool and ancient too, think of this the next time one swims next to you. So this was a bit more rhyme focused, although I prefer free form poems because I can kind of do whatever I want, and I can kind of come back later and add in more rhyming and patterns, but I kind of do patterns just instinctively. And so while editing does help make better patterns, I like to have the free form so that I'm not thinking about the patterns when I first write it down. That's something to come back and edit later. And that turned out very well for this one because there is a very good rhyming scheme. And obviously, I went into it going, there's going to be 3-line stanzas. And these 3 are all about the same. This one is different, but it's the last one, so it's allowed to be a little unique. And it still shares some similarities with the earlier ones, with the first 2 lines being shorter than the last line. So like there's a lot of things with poems. So like here on Dave, the idea was that it's a lot more free form. A break in us to create a stanza isn't a stanza necessarily, it's a pause in the speaking instead of it's an indicator of where you would pause instead of, or a change in tone or something along those lines instead of a containment of a stanza. And you can tell because it's different. It starts out with 3, and then it has a 5-line stanza, and then it has a single line stanza, and then a 4-line stanza, and then another 5-line stanza. Now, if this were a longer poem, this could be a pattern of stanzas, but it's not. This is a short poem, and this is completely patternless, although you could see a pattern in it if you wanted to, where you could say that actually this is where the first stanza is unique, in that it's 3 and actually everything else is 5 long. It's just that this one, the names have power, my friend, has been separated from the rest of its stanza for some reason, which it has for emphasis. But you could theoretically merge it with the stanza below it, and then you would have a clean set of stanzas. However, I think it reads better like this, as names have power, my friend, has more impact and it looks much more like the center of the poem, even though it's not precisely the center of the poem line-wise. And then, of course, up here on The Man Who Sat on the Toilet, the top and bottom stanzas mirror each other. They are not, are they 1, 2, 3, they're 6 and 7. where they mirror each other almost exactly until the final line, which is separate. So they're the same sort of stanza with a 4-line stanza in between them, and then one line tacked on the end that is kind of the payoff of the whole piece, which is what, and the final line is what connects it to the poem. I have plenty, like, I have lots of examples of this. Like, I love talking about how I make my poems. Let me see about pulling up a few more. So there's Garden, which I read on a previous stream. It's fairly short, and it has 4 lines per stanza. I'm planting these words on this piece of paper. I'm watching them grow into a garden. I hope they become an old growth forest. I'll wait the centuries it takes to see them happen. And this is repeated the same exact way at the very end of the poem. It's an identical stanza, with the 4 stanzas in the middle being descriptors. I tend to my stories hour by hour, give them sunlight, water them like flowers. My poems I prune and gently move from my desk to the windowsill under the light of the moon. So the first one is saying I have this garden of poems, of words. And then everything is me describing how I take care of this garden. And then I end the poem with me saying, once again, asserting that I am planting these words on this piece of paper. I'll watch them grow into a garden. I hope they become an old growth forest. I'll wait the centuries it takes to see it happen. Now this is a fun poem because it is a fan poem. Fan poems tend to be very different in their makeup of how they are set up, simply because they don't need to be different in any way. Like, they don't have to follow all the same rules that a poem you'd want to get published would, because it's a fan poem. It's not going to get published. So this is fairly long, because it's a story poem. It summarizes the story it is about, but it doesn't summarize the whole story. That would require more of an epic poem, and that's not quite what I'm doing here. Although I do have another work where that is what I'm doing, actually. Like, I am in fact doing that in another work. I can pull that up and give people a sneak peek at that as well. Where is it? Here it is. But I'll get to that in a minute. So a fan poem is, so this poem specifically, and I love doing this, and although I don't do it with just fan poems, although this is, I think, my best example of doing so within a poem, probably because I'm working from an established story instead of establishing a story with the poem, which is a little more difficult to do, but I love doing that too. Like I have Frozen Heart, which is establishing a story. I have Blood Drop, which is telling a fairy tale story. Um, but those are more difficult because you have to set up the story and then complete it. Um, Whereas Records Written Sandstone, I'm implying the existence of a larger story and I don't have to describe it because the larger story already exists. The point is I'm hyper focusing on two specific characters, or really one character and their relationship to another character. It is just the two of them. And even then, it's not really them, it's their relationship and the one person's perspective on it that this poem is about. But through it, you see the entirety of the story without really getting any of the context of what's actually happening in the story, because that's not what matters to this poem. It would make it very confusing to be read outside of the context of it's the work it's a fan. Oh, hello. I'm doing well. I just finished reading the poems that I was going to read today. I'm currently just explaining the different ways I write poems. Like I went through poems I've written on stream, like like the 3 I've done so far that have been challenges. Someone gives me a title to work with and I create a poem. And so currently I'm explaining like kind of story poems where it tells a story. And as an example, I've brought up, because there's 2 different ways you can do a story poem. I love doing both of them. Like I have poems where it in itself contains a story and it tells a story. And then there's this one, which is a fan poem, although a story poem that does this doesn't necessarily have to be a fan poem, but it's a poem that is connected to another work and elaborates upon it or focuses on a specific aspect and tells it from that, and it can't be removed from the context of the rest of the story, whereas the other story poems, they are the story themselves. For like Records Writ in Sandstone is the relationship between it focuses on the relationship between 2 characters from the perspective of one of those characters throughout the entirety of the story. However, it doesn't do more than imply the existence of the context of what is happening in the rest of the story, because that doesn't matter to what its sort of thesis is about. Which means that to fully understand what is happening around the concept that it's discussing, you have to be familiar with the work. Whereas with one of my poems like Blood Drop or A Frozen Heart, you would not need to have outside knowledge because the setup is given within the poem. Like with A Frozen Heart, it establishes it's a post-apocalyptic world of some kind, and there's a girl with a frozen heart. And when the frozen heart is removed, as in the necklace that she wears this supposedly decorative frozen heart on is taken from her, it melts and she dies because it was her literal frozen heart. But that story is set up within the poem as a narrative. Whereas here there is a narrative, but it's happening outside of the poem, if that makes sense. I think I've harped on too long about this. There is similar as well, but this is more of an epic, where there are several poems, and they all connect to tell a larger story. It's not quite an epic, but it's similar to that. I think there's a specific term that I have either forgotten or need to look up, where it's a story told in poems from the characters themselves. But it is not but it's more similar to an epic in that the poems are not necessarily part of the story. They are representative of what is happening in the story and what the characters are thinking, closer to perhaps a monologue. So, like, Darkest Kingdom is the perspective of an older. Well, actually, I don't have to explain because it handles the setup itself because it is establishing the story. It's the first. It would be the opening poem in the story. I want you to. So I'll read it. I want you to know I'm with you no matter how far you go. Even if you reach too far into the dark. Oh, goodness. I need some water. Whew. I want you to know I'm with you no matter how far you go. Even if you reach too far into the dark for me to follow, I will follow. I want you to know I make an oath to stand by your side forever. Even if the shadows drip from your wounds and the darkness comes from you, I will follow. I want you to know, no matter how far you go, to the light or to your doom, I will follow you. Loyalty means nothing to me. It's not what ties you and me. Something deeper, something older, something lighter, something darker. I will follow you. I was born first, in a world not made for me. You were born long after, and I hadn't known I was waiting. Nothing had been missing before, but now I was complete. As I told you, it is not loyalty that binds me to you. I will follow you, wherever you need me to be. Your first steps I don't recall, but your smile I remember. From your tiny face you copied how I played. It annoyed me, it intrigued me, because you loved me. They say the oldest is supposed to lead. I think no one knows anything. I think you are grand and will do great things. I think I trust you with everything. I think you are better than most of the world. I think you are smarter than all the world has to offer. I think you and I are two sides of the same drop of blood, the same circle never ending, siblings tied by hearts and trust and growing up. Oh, hi, Andre. Loyalty means nothing. I choose to be your sister every single moment of every single day. I miss you when I am awake. I wish you were here because you understand me. You know all my past without me explaining, and I will follow you to my death and my doom, because I can see prophecy written about you. I wrote it myself with my own blood. You are the future, your anger, your dreams, and I know I'm not perfect, and I know you're not perfect, but I will follow you because you are worth it. I want you to know I'm with you no matter how far you go. Even if you reach too far into the dark for me to follow, I will follow. I was not meant to be some great leader, and you've been the one leading me for a long time. As the darkness climbs, and if our kingdom falls, I'll follow you, and I'll trust you, no matter how far we have to go. So it's a little vague, but it does establish there are two sisters, and one of them's a little like she is trying very hard to reassure her sister that she will not abandon her. The question is she just really a codependent, or is there a reason she's having to reassure her sister so strongly? And the answer is both. Um because the next poem is from the sister's perspective, and it's called Into the Depths. I'm alone. I didn't know. All my life I reached for it. You stood by my side, led me until I could lead both of us, followed me into the darkness. Now a darkness I did not call creeps through our castle walls, and you told me it was time. You followed me down. Doom and destruction, they echo behind me, the whispers I once didn't understand, and yet you followed me down. They knew I would call forward the end, that evil lurked in my heart, that darkness would eat away at your light, yet still you follow me down. I circle and circle like a whirlpool, deeper and deeper into the dark, escaping our kingdom and leaving destruction, and you follow me into the dark. What will I do when you too realize what I am? They all knew, and they told you over and over again. When will I have strayed far enough from the path you were meant to follow that you, my sister, will love me no longer, and yet still you follow me down? So this is sort of establishing the idea that younger sister is supposedly evil, according to other people. And the older sister either believes that and doesn't care, or doesn't believe that, or doesn't care if it's true or not, which is essentially where she's at. She's like, I don't care if you're evil or not, you are my sister. And it's not really confirmed one way or the other to her. The younger sister is like, I'm not evil, I don't think, question mark. And then this is the last poem I have for them so far, but the idea is I'd write a whole story like this, and I do have a timeline planned out so far. Runaways. This is from the older sister's perspective, although that should be able to be deciphered on its own. If it can't be, I might have to specify somehow in the titles. You sleep, safe, hidden, I fear for you. We are safe here, for now, hidden by the kindness of strangers, but watched by their wariness, as they should. It is not me who would suffer if they discovered who we were. The darkness paints the landscape monochrome, black and gray and white, the living things sapped of color, sapped of life and will, and the people here fear it, as they should. I fear it for a different reason. I fear for you. You did not call upon the darkness, not this one at least. If darkness lives within your heart, it is not the one stalking the streets. So I fear for you. What if that story of 1,000 years ago, when the elder sibling had to kill the younger? The elder was light, the younger was dark. What if it was the dark that stole the sibling, and not the sibling who summoned the dark? I cannot lose you. Not after all those years spent living with you, loving you, being your sister. I don't know who I am if I'm not your sister. Would I just be a princess of a dead kingdom then? Would I only be whatever scraps of me weren't torn out by your absence? I'm not the best at protecting. I'm much better at following. Your plans are the better ones. Tell me what to do to keep you safe. But I know you. Your plans will all secretly be how to save me instead of you. I found a blank page in that prophecy book, wrote in my own blood that you get your happy ever after whatever it took, but I'm scared. I don't want to lose you. You sleep, safe, hidden, but still I fear for you. So that's the entirety. I haven't named the whole story yet. The story itself doesn't have a name, but I have named individual poems. Let's see. I can pull up, since there's people here who haven't watched the previous poetry reading streams, I can pull up some poetry that I haven't read. Let's see. Oh, I was using Frozen Heart as an example, so I might as well read it. Okay. Once there was a girl who wore a crystal heart on a thread around her neck. She lived in a world fallen apart, apocalypse and the aftermath, what was left when everything burned down. She lost a lot of things, she lost a lot of people, on her path of just trying to survive. She wore a necklace with a heart as the pendant, the size and shape of the one in her chest. She'd once had others, perhaps a mother, perhaps a father. She hadn't been alone, but now she wandered an empty landscape. She came upon us, a group of survivors, a few of us even from before the end of the world. She was young and small, and our hearts hurt for her. So I offered her a hand. She looked at me with empty eyes and told me she didn't need to care for someone who would only die. I told her life doesn't have to be like that, and I don't think she believed me. One night we were attacked by people driven desperate mad. They took everything we had. They were leaving when they saw the girl with crystal heart against her chest. "What's it made of?" one of them demanded. "Ice." That made them angry. That made them rage. They snapped the thin thread. They gasped that it was cold in their hands, and it started to melt, droplets of water and snow melt. "It's ice," she told them once again. "It's my heart." And then she collapsed, a hole in her chest, bleeding from frostbitten edges. They dropped the melting hunk of ice and ran like their lives depended on it. I rushed to her side. "It's okay," she promised. "I'm not one of those things that can die." One of us picked up what was left of her necklace and passed it to me. I pressed it into her hands, and she said, "Oh, a frozen heart won't work again," and I stared at the hole in her chest. Sometimes, in the aftermath, you stumble across impossible things, like a girl frozen in the middle of summer, alive inside the ice, just asleep, in her heart on a string, slowly condensing outside of her chest, reforming after the world ends. And then I'd read this one earlier in the stream, but I don't think anyone was here, or at least none of the people here were here then. So I'd be willing to sing it again. This is called Endless Circles. There is a ghost in the corner of my... Nope, I started on the wrong note. Oops. There is a ghost in the corner of my room. She smiles at me. She's so full of joy. No, I'm starting on the wrong note again. Why am I doing that? Goodness. I need a tuner. I need a tuner for my voice. Goodness. Ooh, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Do, re, mi. Okay. There is a ghost in the corner of my room. She smiles at me. She's so full of joy. I want to cry. She's so small, so small. How could anyone be so cruel? Oh, hello. Hello, hi. Welcome. She follows me with laughter in her voice. She collects rocks from outside, places them in circling dioramas across my floor. She looks up at me, smiles nervously, and I know she's been judged before. Careful where you step, she's playing a game. It looks like a patterned artwork, but it isn't, I promise. It's childhood at work. She looks at me and I can tell she wants my approval so bad. Who hurt you, I ask? But the truth is, I already know who did. There is a ghost in the corner of my room. She's so small, it hurts to look at her and the joy she bleeds into the air. She forgives, she understands. Thank you. She wants to be understood so bad. She steals my notebooks and makes notations to keep herself from getting bored. Endless subtraction problems and multiplication, all just for fun. She looks up at me and waits for my approval. I want to cry, I want to scream and break down. You don't have to be approved of to be loved. It doesn't matter if they think you're weird for liking learning. It doesn't matter if the adults think you're strange. It doesn't matter if the kids don't understand your circles. You hold on to those things. But she doesn't believe me, she's been told this before. She's a ghost for a reason, and she's in my room for a reason. I look into her eyes, the same as mine. She's so, so small. How could anyone be so cruel? She makes patterns with her toys. Don't disrupt them, don't make noise. She draws in my notebook stories of stars and planets and how it all began in fanciful interpretations. She makes patterns in the grass, runs exactly in the same order and direction over and over until the cycle is complete. She smiles at me, she smiles at me, there is a ghost living in my room. She's so painfully small, but I watch her sometimes, how she leaves no one behind. But her eyes, she already knows she's been left behind. She looks at me, begging for approval. I want to cry and scream, but she wouldn't understand. If I'd known what I know now, back when I was you, I'd have never changed, I'd have stayed the same, and I wouldn't have looked so hard for approval. So don't look to me, you have it. I didn't mean to kill you, I was you. I didn't know I was outgrowing you. There is a ghost in my room. She is so small. I bring her a pile of shells, watch her eyes light up as she lines them up in endless circles. Okay, so that is Endless Circles. There are no tears in my eyes. No, that would not happen. So currently I'm just rereading poetry that I have read on stream. I'm going through my poetry folder. If any of them jump out at you, you can request. Oh, I like Garden. I just looked at it, but I'll pull it up again. I'm planting these words on this piece of paper. I'll watch them grow into a garden. I hope they become an old-growth forest. I'll wait the centuries it takes to see it happen. I tend to my stories hour by hour. Give them sunlight, water them like flowers. Aw, thank you. My poems I prune and gently move from my desk to the windowsill under the light of the moon. They sprout 1,000 different kinds right before my eyes, words to eat and words to watch. I gather them in baskets, gift them to my neighbors, tie them with bows, send them floating out the window. I'm planting these words on this piece of paper. I'll watch them grow into a garden. I hope they become an old-growth forest. I'll wait the centuries it takes to see it happen. Yeah. Some of my poems are designed to be sung and some of them aren't. And some of them can be sung and sound better when they're sung, and some of them go either way. Oh, why is Hunter Hunted on here? That is not a poem. I guess it's creative nonfiction, so I don't have a folder for that specifically, but I will have to reorganize. And I read chapter 1 earlier, but I didn't sing it because I could not remember the tune. Really? Oh, thank you. Yeah, because I really do a lot of freeform poems, and then I go back and edit if I want to add in more of a rhyme scheme, because I'm very good at instinctive patterns, so I try to let myself put in those instinctive patterns, go back, see what patterns I put in instinctively, and then edit to make sure to make them more distinct. So this is chapter 1, and this is kind of a fun poem. I mean, kind of a little wistful almost. There's a word for it when you nostalgia for something that isn't real. Oh yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Usually how my poems end up being either one is meant to be spoken or sung is whether I was singing it when I was writing it or not. Is usually how it. Yes, that is the word. Yes. Um this isn't perfectly that, but that was what I was thinking about when I was writing it. I was kind of combining, I was like, it was kind of like there's that future perfect happy ending. Books come to an end. I want to go back to chapter 1. You can't experience something for the first time again ever. Like combining all of that into the messy nostalgia, and there was, or what about when there wasn't actually a first time that you can remember? I want to go back to chapter 1 both in the book I'm reading and with this nebulous reality and concept. It lots of things. So I keep dreaming of happy ever after. Watch me just drop out of my singing voice there. Whew. I keep dreaming of happy ever after, but I'm caught up in the aftermath. I want my fantasy, but I get lost in reality. Give me picture perfect, but is it worth it? I know all stories have endings, all tales come to a close, but can we just this once turn the pages back, return to chapter 1? I want a happy ever after, but those aren't real. I want a fantasy ending that keeps going when the book ends. I want my picture perfect scene, but time makes it lose its gleam. I know all stories have endings, all tales come to a close, but can't we just this once turn the pages back, return to chapter 1? I don't want the story to end, not unless it's perfect, but life doesn't work like that. I have to keep living it. All the stories that I read promised it would be worth it in the end. I believed them, I believed them. I knew reality doesn't work like picture books. Reality doesn't work like fantasy. Reality doesn't care for you or me. Happy ever after is just a dream. I want a happy ever after, but I'm caught up in the aftermath. I want my fantasy, but I got lost in reality. Give me picture perfect, but is it worth it? I know all stories have endings, all tales come to a close, but can we just this once turn the pages back, return to chapter 1? Because it's kind of like because there is no real chapter 1 in actual life, but it's like almost wanting to go back. And then there's also with real books wanting to experience it again. Oh, thank you. Ooh, I love your ooh, yeah, that's a nice that's a nice like beat, like rhythm. That's fair enough. I can't imagine. I mean, I'm pretty good at poetry in English because I know it, but like another language would be very difficult to do. Like, it would be interesting and fun, but also very challenging. Um, let's see. Is there another. Oh, there's What Isn't There, which is a very old poem. I wrote this as a tween. Um, It's like a tugging in your chest, something hollow. You're hungry. You're craving your favorite food. When you take a bite, it tastes wrong. You want something sweet, fruit, savory, salty. You want something that isn't real. It's like the itch of scratchy clothes, sold as soft as silk, we promise, all synthetic. You want to be warm, blankets lose that new sensory feel in shorter and shorter amounts of time. You want something you can't have. How can you want what you've never known and never touched or seen, only dreamed? How can you want what is never there, like charcoal promises that flames existed once, but with no guarantee that they will return? You want something you can't understand. Oh yeah, I've been writing since before I could write, actually. It's one of my mom's favorite stories. Before I could physically write, I would dictate to one of my older cousins who could write to write down what I wanted them to write down. So like, and I've been writing since age late age 2. Like I was almost 3, but like age 2. So like precocious. There's the beach, which is not quite as old as. Okay, hello, Sir D. I've just been calling you Dill in my head, but hello. This isn't quite as old, but I'd only written it down on physical paper, and then I lost the paper that I wrote it down on. And then I was unpacking my room, and I found it, and so I digitized it again. And I was like, thank goodness I found this. I have been going, wow, that poem that I wrote and then lost immediately after, it was so good. Which of course, I do write them down on paper. They usually start on paper and then end up digitized so that I don't lose them, as happened with the beach. Sometimes if I'm singing them, I will probably type them instead because I can type faster than I can physically write. Whereas if I'm not singing it, I'm more likely to write it by hand. Because I sing faster than I speak when I'm like planning it out. Um, but when I'm cuz I can sing through an entire verse and then it stays in my head while I sing through it again with slightly different words and kind of go through several drafts much faster. Oh yeah. Like I could do them fancy handwriting wise, but I just find it better to make sure I don't lose them because with the ADHD, I will just lose them. So it's just as many versions as possible so I don't lose them is the main goal. So this is I actually wrote this one at the beach, which is part of why it was physical. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I actually wrote this one at the beach, which is why it's called the beach. Well, I probably wrote it on the way back to the car, but I do enjoy the beach a lot, but if I remember I was a little annoyed that day. I was a little annoyed. You stand on the beach, the waves, the sun, there's a cut on your lip that you worry at. You breathe in the sea spray. It stings like rubbing alcohol and tastes like seaweed and fish. Salty. Dry sand, soft to walk on, hot enough to burn, clings to you like glitter scratching in your eyes. The horizon is flat and endless. The sea is murky brown. The sun melts the sunscreen on your face, dripping down your cheek into your eyes. The wind and waves are so loud, the only noises you can hear are your own thoughts. Poets love the ocean, the beauty, unfathomable depths. There is something about staring at these waters, wondering, Where is it? Where is it? What are you missing? The magic of a lonely beach is from a time long past. The sun heats your skin, burns it. The wind whips your hair into your face, choking you with it. Your sister makes a moat with a pile of sand in the center. She sticks a broken clamshell the size of your nail on top and calls it a castle with seaweed sticking to her hands. Maybe the beach retains some of its magic after all. So I was a little annoyed when I went to the beach, I think because I was forced to wake up early. But then I had fun building sandcastles with my sister, so I wrote a poem about it. I was like, the beach, annoying. The water, that's brackish water. This sucks. I'm in the bay. This isn't the ocean. This is the goddamn bay. It's brackish water and it's all brown. I mean, I love the bay. Chesapeake Bay, my heart. I love her, and the oysters are important, and and the environment is spectacular, and brackish water is so important for the environment because there's so little of it, and all the species that live in it are like so important, so many keystone species, and we've got so many dead zones in brackish water specifically. I could go on so many ecology rants about this, but it's still not fun to look out at the horizon and go, wow, the ocean, and look down and the water's like brown. That's not the most fun experience. Let's see. There is Stardust, which every time I go into it, because it's so long, I swear I find another typo that I thought I caught all of them. I'm like, how many rounds of edits do I have to do before I catch every typo? And the answer is probably a million bazillion more. Because it is 6 pages long. Um, but it's yeah, it's practically an epic. Yeah. It can be. This is one that I was singing while I wrote it, so it sounds better sung, but it can be read just dramatically. Either way is fine. It just which one I choose usually depends on how my voice is feeling. Right now I think I'd be willing to try singing it. The Iliad, the Odyssey, and Stardust. Yep. You know what? Actually, I think I can do a better dramatic reading right now than singing it. So I'm gonna. Oh, sing me a song. Oh, sing me a song of stardust, of beginnings and ends, where the universe started, where it all began. Sing me a song of heroes and villains, those who died long ago. Sing me my history, the echoes written in my bones. I am the dreams of 1,000 people before me. They dreamed they would live on through me. My face they didn't know, my stories they couldn't grow, languages we spoke echoed, and I wouldn't understand a word. Oh my god, a bot. I'm gonna kill it. I'm hitting you with the ban hammer. Where is my goddamn ban hammer? Okay. No. Slash ban. I killed them. Successful. They interrupted my cool reading. This is the reason bots are evil. It's because they interrupt poetry readings. Be gone, fellow washing machine. Okay, I'm gonna start over. Maybe I'll channel the anger of having to kill a bot or something. You know, I just fought a battle against a bot and won, so like I should channel that into my reading. You know, like a warrior's thing, you know. Okay, yeah. Oh, sing me a song of stardust, of beginnings and ends, where the universe started, where it all began. Sing me a song of heroes and villains, those who died long ago. Sing me my history, the echoes written in my bones. I am the dreams of 1,000 people before me. They dreamed they would live on through me. My face they didn't know, my stories they couldn't grow, languages we spoke echoed, and I wouldn't understand a word. How far can I reach? Back through life, through eddies of stardust and rivers of time, back before we were human, back in time, back before the world looked like this, back before the continents. How far can I go back? Would the little mammal be proud of me, the one who survived everything, small enough that my hand would dwarf it? Did it ever imagine it would birth giants? And when the sky exploded, did it know it would be the start of a new era, a new age? Did it know the world it would make? If I reached back, way past, to a fish in an ocean we wouldn't recognize, back in time, smaller than the nail on my pinky finger, would I look into its eyes and see mine? Sing me a song of stardust, of the highs and of the lows, the things that happened that humanity will never quite know. There were other humans once, they looked so much like us. We carry just a few of us, their DNA echoes in us, and yet they are all gone. I am the product of millions of successes, of creatures, of people, living, just long enough to keep it going, to keep the wheel of life spinning. I would reach back through time, run my hands through the streams of stardust, and wonder, was this us? When we discovered fire, do you think someone imagined what we could one day be? Do you think if I reached far enough, if I went back far enough, do you think they'd know me? Echoes of our reality, the future written in brand new stone that has yet to grow old, fossils held in my hands, and I wonder, is the shell imprinted in this pebble the gravestone of an ancestor of mine? If I reach back in time, sing me a song of stardust, of how the universe began. Tell me how it'll end as we're spread apart. Tell me what's in our hearts. Because you can go back to before the moon lived in the sky, watch it crash right into Earth and make our moon, make our ground spinning round and round and round. Which particle can I trace back through space and time? Which molecule can I hold to you as proof of where we've been? A single atom somewhere in my blood came from that very first explosion, that first star, our first universe so far. Sing me a song of stardust, hear it echo through your ears as they resonate with where we once were, where we were. There was a little, single-celled creature that had no eyes, no senses, it had nothing inside it, just a dream of life, and we all owe our lives to it. Is God the same as his creation? Does God walk among us, echoes in our blood? Is he made of stardust? Are we made up of him, of his shed skin? Is God a tiny, single-celled creature that dreamed of a future? If I looked it in the eyes it doesn't have, would it recognize me as its descendant? Would it know me as its blood? I am family to everything alive. Just go far enough back in time. I see you on the other side of the world, and you look nothing like me, but I look in your eyes and I see. Stardust. Sing me a song of stardust, of beginnings and ends. Tell me how we got here. Tell me where we'll be. Tell me where we'll be. So, like, it is crazy long, but it's gotta be that long, because I have to hit all of the major points. Like, I have to hit the mammal, I have to hit the little fish, I have to hit, moon crashing, well, not the moon, it was another planet that crashed into Earth and reformed into both the Earth and the moon. I have to hit the Big Bang. I have to hit the single-celled organism. And that's like 5 different events. Um and I also hit humans discovering fire. So like that's 6 different events. So like that's a lot of things I had to hit in that poem, and I was like, I can't leave any of these out. I have to hit them all. I probably could have skipped the when humans discovered fire, but I thought it matched up very well with what I had. So When I get going about science, I get going. This one I put effort into making look pretty, but it's a little hard to read on a screen, so I have a little version that's easier to read. So this is about Sleeping Beauty. Roses. Once upon a time, in a land far away, time stopped. Sleeping Beauty. Once she had a name, but the roses grow over her grave. Who was she? Yeah. Oh. Oh, hello, Ryger. Hello, hello. Welcome. I am reading poems. I'm currently reading one called Roses, and I have a fancy, colorful version of it, but it's a little hard to see on screen, so I'm going down to my boring, plain version. Once upon a time, in a land far away, time stopped. Sleeping Beauty, once she had a name, but the roses grow over her grave. Who was she, princess in the castle? Did she love the roses that would mark her grave, and end the lives of those who killed her? She sleeps, they say. She is only asleep. Is she? Roses cover the castle, guard her with their thorns, and in her sleep a princess dreams of storms. Oh, right, sorry, Dracora. I forgot you can't, reading's impossible for you. I forgot that. Oh, these are just collections of poems. Well, most of them are. Some of them probably have original poems in them, but, like, I'll separate those out some other time. But those are mostly collections of poems that should be out here already. I have published. This is How to Mourn is one of my published works. Is Jack on here? Jack is also published. Mergirl is published, and Hunter Hunted is published. Only two of those are online. The other two are physical only. Oh, awesome. Yeah. I don't have a book, but I hope to have a book someday. How does everyone feel about stories about cats? I know it says death, but
Don't. I can hear you. Don't put me through this again.
I promise it's about cats. It's about kittens, and nothing bad happens to them in the story.
She lies.
My sister's claiming I'm lying, which perhaps something bad happens to them in the story. I wouldn't know. Yeah. There's nothing more fun than sitting down at the dinner table and going, "Hey guys, so today, today I wrote a poem about kittens. How does everybody feel about me reading it at the table?" And they're like, "What's it called?" And I'm like, well, are you sure you want to know that?" And other such things. I do have a happy kitten poem, but, like, we don't need to read I mean, not that this one, okay, we don't have to read the one called Death. I mean, it's got a happy ending. Happy ending is what it's got. So, like, let's look at dragons. Those are animals. Once upon a time, a girl dreamed of dragons. The dragons in stories stole princesses, kept them in towers of gold. The stories were always about the knight come to slay the monster. The girl dreamed of monsters. The stories say fairies steal children away. The girl kept quiet that she dreamed of the day she would be taken away. The girl felt alone, loved and held close, family and friends, but still alone. Once upon a time, a girl had enough. She packed up her bag, she said her tearful goodbyes, and she set off to a place where dreams could fly. It took her days, weeks, months, but finally, it was enough. Dragon wings soared above. The girl reached out her hand and found a dragon's love. Like a dog loyal to the bone, like a cat purring in the warmth of a home. The warmth of dragon fire, and she was not alone. So that's just like a short, sweet little thing. Nothing like my poem about cats. I mean, it's okay. Technically, the poem's not about cats. It's about the concept of death. And the first time I encountered the concept of death in my life just happened to involve a cat. Even worse, it was like a 1-week-old kitten. It was like a baby. Spiders are animals too, I think. If we think about it. I mean, they're not animals. Like, I know that. They're insects. I mean, they're not insects. They're arachnids. But, like, they're creatures. Love is a silly thing, made of thin spider string, strong enough to lift the sky, and weak enough to snap as you walk by. Love is pretty like a spider web, catches the light, art made by unknowing hands that could not comprehend the beauty they crafted. Love is gross like cobweb. Love is gross like cobwebs, sticky and tangled, unexpected, wrapped around your fingers as you flail. Love like mother, father, sister, brother, family hold me close. Love like friendship shattered in childhood sitting next to you on the swings. Love like blushing and holding hands and kiss you better than you are. Love like a spider who eats their web when they get up to move, leaving nothing behind. You only see cobwebs when spiders die. Weave your web, strong and weak, beautiful and sticky. There is no such thing as pointless love. Everyone is dying. My cat is called Ferdinand, and it is playing with a toy. Everything is dead. Ferdinand farted. Happy ending. Yeah, that's about how death goes. Yeah, it ends with suicide didn't happen. That's about how it goes. That's about how the poem goes. It's like, it like escalates. It's like first a cat dies, then people start dying, and then it's like, you know what? I'm not gonna die. And that's how it goes. It's great. Queen of the Gods is technically about a peacock, which is an animal. I mean, it's about Hera, as in Queen of the Gods, but it's from the perspective of one of her peacocks. I mean, maybe not. It's a fun poem, but like, I'm not too attached to it. There's Mom and Dad. Yeah, I write about mythology as well. Yeah, that one I was doing a poem like exercise, and we were given like cards with animals on them and told to write a poem, and I drew a card, and it was a peacock, and I went, well, I know what to do with this. So I know this poem says Mom and Dad, but it's really about my sister. So that's how it usually, I mean, it's about Mom and Dad too, but that's how poems usually go. There's always a secret third thing that they're about. The title either lies or is too honest. That's how it goes. You inherit things from your parents, from the people who raise you. I have my father's nose, I have my father's skin, I have the color of my father's hair and the texture of my mother's. I have my mother's comprehension and I have my father's mind. I got the pain my mother grew up with, filtered through layers of love. I got my father's differences, my diagnoses matching his lack of one. My mother sees herself in me, and my sister too, our fidgeting hands never truly sitting still. My sister got our mother's hair and skin, I got our father's freckles. My sister got my mother's brain. My sister loves computers the way my father does. Words dance for her, out of reach, like they do for my mother. I have my mother's eyes, or perhaps my father's. My sister has my dad's nose, and we got the glasses from both of them. I dodged the braces and medically broken jaws. My dad still has Invisalign, and my sister has braces still. I burn like my father does, catch fire in an instant. I love the water like my mother does, even if it stings me like it does my father. My sister loves numbers just like me, just like dad. We love stories just like mom. And I love poetry just like grandpa, whose blood I don't share. And according to my mother, he used to read in the bathroom like I do. I got my height from neither parent, stunted growth. Thanks for the asthma, Mom, and the debilitating bleeding each month. Thanks every woman on both sides for the back issues caused by a certain aspect of puberty. Thanks, Dad, for the dangers of maybe one day arthritis and that I could be a carrier for type 1 diabetes. Thank you, Mom, for the understanding. Thank you, Dad, for letting me not feel alone. Thank you, sister, for sharing the struggles of growing up in our home. I inherited a lot of things from my parents, things I hate and things I love. It's funny looking at me and my sister, how we seem to be two different halves of each of our parents, and I know that's how genetics work, how chance can play a part, but sometimes I feel like you could split us both down the middle, pair our halved hearts together, and make two whole copies of Mom and Dad. Yeah, she gets all weird whenever I write a poem about her. Even all the poems about her are nice. Like, I've got another one called Clay Creations, and I'm so nice to her in it. I'm like, she's the better artist. She's better at everything. She's epic and awesome. And I sent it to her, and she sent back a thumbs up. I was like, I poured my heart out about how much I love her and love her art, and she sent back a thumbs up. Bye, Dill. Yeah. I'm not over that. I will never be over that. I sent you the beautiful poem, Clay Creations, and you send back a thumbs up. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but I was just like, really? I was like, I wonder what her reaction is gonna be. Is she gonna like it? And you go, thumbs up. And I'm like, I guess you liked it, I suppose. I was like, did you read it? I assumed you did, but I was like, that looks like you just saw the text. Come on.
I did read it.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all the poems to read. So I'm willing to do one challenge where someone gives me a title for a poem and I will attempt to write the poem that matches that title. I have done 3 of those so far, and I'd say they've all been successful despite various challenges, such as the man who sat on the toilet, Dave. Sharks are cool, actually, was very fun, so, like, that one's fine. But the first 2 were an attack. I defended them successfully, but I'm willing to take a challenge. You can say something stupid if you want. Oh, actually, it's 10:30. I'm meeting up with friends at 11. I should probably end stream. Oh goodness. I'm sorry for the abrupt end. I really was gonna do some writing, I promise. But it seems it must come to an end. Goodbye. Bye.